everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. These pretty little roses are what we're going to make today, and you'll need a die cut shape or a punched shape or a boat shape with 5 different petals on it. Just in case you don't have a die or a punch, I'm going to show you an easy way to make your own template to produce the paper roses. So what I've used is a 3-inch circle punch, and I've cut 1 shape, and this is a 1-inch circle punch, and from this I've cut 5 little circles. So what you're going to do is, with some glue dots or a little bit of double-sided tape, is just lay the circles onto the small circles onto your 3-inch circle so that you get them all in line, and then you can either draw around them, or what I've done is I've used a stiffer piece of card and I've laid the paper template on top, and then I've cut round this to give me a thicker card template, and that gives me this kind of a thing. This is my template now that I can use, keep it safe and use it to make all your paper roses with. So once you've created your template, choose some paper that you like to make your flowers with and draw around your template 3 times. And then when you've done that, cut the shapes out. Now I've numbered them because this is where you're now going to cut the paper flowers. So find your centre point and cut 1 petal out of one of the shapes. That will then leave you a shape with 4 petals in it. From the other one, cut out 2 of the petal shapes, and that will leave you another shape with 3 petals in it, and number 5 you're just going to leave as 1 shape. But again, find your centre point and just cut into the centre. So that's your basic shape to start making your paper rose. So once you've got your pieces cut out, just to define the edges, you can just ink around the edges. You don't have to, but you can just ink around the edges if you like. Okay, and now you're going to start assembling the flower. I'm using a wet glue, and all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of the wet glue to one side and then joining the petals together. Just hold it for a second or 2 till it dries. So this is the 5 petaled one glued together. That's the 4 one. There's our 3 one. There's the 2. Now what I would suggest you do with the 1 petal is definitely ink the back of it, because this is the bit that will show, and this is also the one that's a little bit tricky to fold in. So what I do is I use a barbecue skewer, and if you just wrap that round there, around the skewer, and just hold it in place. Try not to get creases in it, but at least you're just going to hold it in place until the glue dries. And there then are your 5 pieces to start making your flower. So now with your stick, you can either use a barbecue skewer or a cocktail stick. Depends on the size of the curl you want in your petals. I'm going to use the little cocktail stick because I like a nice deep curl to my flowers. And if you place it behind one of the petals and then just roll the paper over the stick, if you can just see, and roll it, and that will give you a curl to the petal. And you're going to do that with all the pieces. This is your 5-petaled one. And then for this bottom one, just scrunch it up a bit. Okay, and then you're going to do the same with all the other pieces. So in the base of your 5-petaled one, add some glue. This is Glossy Accents. It's a very strong glue, and all I've done is run some around the base. Take your 4-petaled piece and offset your petals, so you're just going to push that one into place in there. Then take your 3rd petal, your 3-petal piece, and again cut off the bottom. Add some more glue just in the bottom of the 4 one, and again offset your petals and just add in your 3-petaled shape. I'm just using this barbecue skewer just to push in the flower, the paper. Take your 2-petaled one, cut off the bottom, cut off a little bit more this time, and again squeeze in your glue. Clear glue's better because you can't see it once it dries. And again offset the petals and fit that into the bottom. And then fill the bottom of that with your wet glue. Cut off about half of your last 1-petal piece, and you're just going to push that one into the centre. And then if you set that all on one side and leave it to dry, there's your paper rose. Once you've finished it, you can add glitter to it, or you can use the spray and sparkle. But either way, you've got some very pretty flowers there to add to your cards. Then all I've done is I've punched out some leaf shapes, and I've only got 2 leaf shapes, but either would look pretty with the flowers. And you can just offset your flowers onto your leaves to add them to your cards. So now let's go ahead and make the card. All I've done is folded an A4 piece of card in half. I've chosen the colours that I want to use for my flower, and I've matted and layered my 2 pieces together. So I've used some stripy paper there and just an ordinary backing paper there, and I've double layered some organza ribbon. So all I've done is just add double-sided tape to the back and secured the ribbon around it, then put an extra piece on top just to hold the ribbon in place. And then using a wet glue, which is just an all-purpose glue, I've just added some glue to the back of the card, and we're now just going to layer it onto the front of the white card. Just layer it on so it leaves a small border around each side. Okay, so there's your base. I've stamped out a little verse and I've matted and layered it onto a spellbinder shape, and on the back of this I've added foam pads. So we're just going to mount this onto the front of the card now. Make sure it's the right way around, and add it to the top of over the top of the ribbon. Okay, there's the base of the card. Now this is the little shape, the little flower shape that I want to add, and because this is if I had a single flower, we're just going to use one of the flowers, and all I'm going to use here is some Pinflair glue gel. So I'm just going to put a blob in the centre of the card, and I'm going to add the leaves into the glue. And I'm going to use 3 because for some reason odd numbers always seem to work better. And then just on top of the pin flare, just add the rose. Now I've already gone ahead and made a bow from the cream ribbon that's on the bottom, and again using pin flare I'm just going to add that to the top of the ribbon. And then with the green ribbon that's there, I've gone ahead and made another bow, but I've left the tails quite long. And all you're going to do is mount that on top of the cream ribbon. But here's a little trick that you might like to try. If you quite fancy the idea of a grungy ribbon, this is what you can do with organza. So I'm just going to use a heat resistant mat. I need my barbecue skewer to hold the ribbon in place, and I need a heat gun. So using the barbecue skewer just to hold the ribbon in place, use your heat gun, and all you're going to do is dabbing motions to the ribbon. I'll show you what I mean. Now that just melts your ribbon. It doesn't actually burn it, it just melts it. And then you can trim the edges how you would like them to be trimmed. If you fold your ribbon in half, if you cut the ribbon down, you'll end up with a point in it. But if you cut the ribbon from the outside up to the centre, you'll end up with a nice V in it. And the ribbon needs to be cut because if you don't, it'll just fray. Okay, so do the same with the other side. Fold it in half, cut from the outside edge to the centre on a slant up to the centre, and then again with your pin flare you're just going to add this to the top of the other ribbon. You're going to need to leave it in place to dry. And then to finish off, I've just used some sticky back self-adhesive pearls, and I'm going to use one of each colour. And this is just the little finishing touch to the card. And I'm just going to place these down in the lower corner. Having stripes there helps you place the gems in a straight line. It's not my strong point. And there is the finished card.